I'm Ashley.
And I'm Jackie. Welcome back to Dumb Witch Club. How are you today?
I'm doing well. It's cold.
It is cold. Winter has descended upon Southern California.
I know.
It is 60 degrees every day. It's just unbearable.
Yeah.
It is cold. It is cold.
It's cold for us. Let's say that.
It's cold for us for sure. But at night, it's actually really cold. It's like 40 something. Like, that's cold.
People are laughing.
I don't care. That is cold. No, you cannot say that's not cold. Like, I know it can be colder.
Yes, that's true.
But still
But it's still classified as cold.
Yes.
I agree.
Correct.
Yes. And whatever, like, that is relative to where you live and your climate.
Yes. And if I went somewhere else, I would grow accustomed to much colder weather.
Eventually.
I think. Or I would just wither away.
Probably more of that.
I know. But I do appreciate that it is cold, actually.
Yeah. I'm liking it. I'm getting into the season, and it's now December, and so we're embracing things.
Yes. And I think we are embracing the winter and the wintering.
Yeah.
And the cold comes along with that. And it does, like, it really makes you want to, like, hole up in your home.
I know.
And be cozy and crafty and cute.
Mm-hmm. I keep posting these pictures on my Instagram. I know you're seeing them. Of these, like...
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
Yes, like these little animals and their little burrows.
They're so adorable.
They're so cute.
That's literally how I wish my actual life was.
I know.
Like a little, like, mouse or, like, I don't even know. There's, like other little critters. Like, I want to say, like, moles, but I don't know if they're actually moles. But, like, they're just little underground critters, and they have these little homes, and these are illustrations. They're not real. But they have, like, beds and little caps.
And quilts.
And slippers. It's adorable.
It's the most adorable thing, and I feel like I'm trying to embody that as much as we possibly can while still having to live our lives.
100%.
Yeah.
I know. And it's like, it's starting to see, the decorations, like the lights on people's houses coming out for the holidays. And I love that too. It's really sweet. And
sweet.
It kind of feels, like a collective experience.
Yeah.
Because you kind of see people, like, I don't know these people or, neighbors or whoever, just in different neighborhoods even, or like stores and things. And it's kind of like, everyone's aware of something in this season.
Totally. It just brings joy. It just does. It's like a little bit of joy. It's just something that you look at and it makes you happy and it makes you think about it. And, like, very similar to other things we've talked about, where just that object that you can see just reminds you of something, and there's just something so nice about that.
Yes, and that's why, I mean, really, truly, like, I have so much appreciation for how much effort people put into what they do, around their homes. Obviously, I'm not inside everyone's home, but just on the outside of what you can see. And when I say that, I don't just mean the people who clearly put a ton of effort in, like that do the Christmas vacation lights and, 5,000 strings and like the inflatables. I mean, that's all fun and great. But I really appreciate if someone has like one strand of lights.
I know.
Or one, like a wreath on their door.
I know.
Because I think, or even like when it comes to like Halloween decorations, same thing, like one pumpkin carved or, whatever. I just feel like that, if that is what someone has the capacity to do.
Yeah.
And they still put the energy into doing that.
Totally.
I appreciate it so much. It's like touching.
It is touching. I really agree with that.
I love it. I love seeing that.
I do too. And I feel like there's a lot of the opposite sentiment where people are like, that's all you're doing. Or or maybe not necessarily people being like nasty like that all over the place, but like maybe just sort of the concept that you see on social media and stuff like that, where it's like people are like Joanna Gaines, like going all out with this like farmhouse crazy decor and having these garlands and these things.
Yeah.
I mean, really?
Well, because I think that can create a sense of like, if someone is like, well, I can't do all of that. I can only do one little thing. And they might feel like, oh, well, it's not worth it. It's not worth it to just do one little thing. Right. But I think it is.
Oh, I'm here to say it's worth it to do one little thing. That one little thing makes me smile and brings me so much joy, and I know other people feel that way. Even like you said, like if you go into like a little coffee shop or something,
yes,
and they have like a little treat, or if they have like one little like themed drink or little themed thing.
I know. I love it. Or like a little, and I know we're in Southern California, but like a little snowman, like drawn on the chalkboard or, something.
It's so cute.
It is cute. I was going to say, I'm not sure how much I actually like the like California Christmas theme where it's like a palm tree.
Oh, right.
If you have a palm tree in your yard and you're putting lights on it, like, okay, fine. But
That's
I just mean
cute.
that's adorable. Like it's your yard or it's your landscape, whatever. But it's like the artwork that's that. Or like the surfing Santa or whatever. Santa. Like I'm not sure how much I actually like that. And I don't know. Santa. I don't know. I'm not trying to insult anyone either, but I don't know if I'm down with like Santa with shorts on.
Yeah, that's a big Huntington Beach thing. They love that. Sure. Like the Christmas at the beach, that's a big, they're feral for that.
Yeah, no, I know.
In the coastal cities.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about it.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel either. I need to see, I guess, more kind of evidence of it to decide if I actually like it.
I'm also like, leave Santa alone. He can wear what he wants anywhere he wants. Or it's like Santa's on vacation. I'm like, he's not on vacation.
He's not on vacation.
This is busy time. Hello.
That doesn't make any sense.
No.
That doesn't align.
No.
This is when he's working. Maybe in the summer. If you want to have a Santa that looks like that in the summer, I think that's okay.
Nobody puts that out in the summer.
They should do it.
They should.
Yeah.
We're not going to do it.
I want to see it.
Somebody should.
No, I'm not going to do it. Yeah. But I want to see that.
Well, so we shall see.
First, we started with, it's great if you just have like one thing.
And then we're like, ew, but don't
Santa's
do that.
in the summer, and we need to see it, and you need to provide evidence. Like, who are we?
Nobody cares.
Insane.
Nobody's going to listen to us anyways.
No, that's okay. They shouldn't. Bad advice.
It is. It's just silliness. It's silliness. I mean, I think, but this is the thing. This is the time of year. There's a lot of... There can be a lot of pressure. There can be a lot of expectation, whether, we put that on ourselves or others put that on us.
Yeah.
So I think, we do have to have some levity, obviously, and some joy, and that can come from different places.
Yes. That's really just such a good point. You have to take time to just try to laugh at things and just have a little humor and also find little bits of joy because it can just be a nightmare. And I feel like this season it started early. People have already been like upset and just stressed. Like I'm hearing it at work. I'm hearing it around me. Like, what are we going to do about this? And what are we going to do about that? And I also feel like this year people are packing in more things because the past couple of years we haven't really been able to have full experiences.
Yes, I think that is part of the kind of like frenzied like pressure of this year because I feel like, last year it was still iffy. It was like...
It was.
And then obviously the year before it was like, nothing.
Yeah.
So it is still this sense of like, well, now everything's normal again and let's do a million things. And it's like, okay, it can be a lot. So I feel like, that's kind of leading right up to, we have a focus for this episode, which is protection magic, spells and rituals to help you protect your energy during this busy time of year, and specifically if you're going into maybe like family gatherings or environments that are not your own, where sometimes those can be challenging for various reasons. So that's really what we want to focus our conversation on today. Yeah. So this is just a big witch energy only episode.
Yes.
It's going to take all of our big witch energy.
It is. And it's something that I think we've been getting a lot of questions about, and
people are wondering.
What do they do, and I love that we're discussing this because I feel like it also is reminding me of the things that I can do.
Yep.
Because dumb witch club.
I know. No, that's also why I really appreciate doing this show is because I can remember, like, oh, yeah,
exactly.
These are the things.
Yeah.
Then we can tell y'all, so y'all can remember them more easily. So, so maybe let's just, let's get into, like, what, what does this even mean? How do we protect our energy using spells and rituals?
Well, I kind of like the way that you sort of described it in the different ways that you can approach it, sort of based
Yes.
on your intention. So maybe talk about that, because I like the way that you put that.
Yes. Okay. So I sort of was conceptualizing this of, we're talking about energy, and, we could talk about this anytime, all the time. Like there's always energy flowing within us and without us. But I kind of have 3 categories of energy work that you can do. The first category is ways to clear and move energy through yourself or your environment. And then the next sort of, and these can all overlap.
Sure.
Or you can kind of focus on one, or you can do kind of the series. So anyway, there's kind of the moving and clearing of obviously like negative energy, right? Then there's the containing of your own energy, sort of that protection type of concept. And then the last one is cultivating or inviting the type of energy that you want to bring to your space or to yourself. So we kind of have ideas within all of those categories.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, that's great. I love that you explained it that way. The way that I was sort of thinking about it was there are kind of 2 different ways I like to approach how I'm going to do a ritual or a spell. And honestly, I don't have really a rhyme or reason for when I choose one or the other.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of these kind of practices is there are options, and you can kind of just go with what feels like the right option at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. I just at some point kind of know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like to describe it as I'm either doing magic on me or magic in my sanctuary.
I love it.
Yeah.
So what's kind of the difference? Like how do those play out?
Yeah. So magic on me would be when I'm doing something kind of like what you described with sort of containing or protecting that energy, or even like drawing in the energy that you want to be present.
Yeah.
So that really involves a lot around my person and myself, my body. So usually what I would do, we always start with a cleansing procedure. So, and that can be, everybody likes kind of something different for that.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's lots of different ways to, so should we?
Yeah. Maybe talk about those.
Yeah. So, okay. There's lots of ways that you can clear or cleanse the energy within you or without you. So they can be broken down broadly into the 4 elements, at least, and that's not all that there are, but that's just to start with. So if we have water, fire, air, and earth. So the way that you can cleanse with water. So these are just a couple of ideas that I kind of had like off the top of my head, and that like we've done and talked about. There could obviously be more than this, and they could be more elaborate than this, but these are really simple suggestions.
Definitely.
I feel. So cleansing energy with water is as simple as washing things. Could be literally with water or, like cleansers, liquids, things like that. Washing things in your environment, washing your hands, washing your face, washing your body as in like a bath or a shower. So if you imagine yourself like in an environment where maybe you're receiving some negative energy or you're receiving criticism from a family member, let's say, like at an event, you could take the opportunity to go to the bathroom, and you can be alone, and you can wash your hands with sort of a ritualistic intention that you are going to clear that negative energy or those negative feelings from yourself, and you're really using that moment with the water and letting it go down the drain and kind of having that intention. So those are just kind of ways, and that was like a specific way that you could use a very simple and accessible water ritual to cleanse energy.
That's a great idea, because I feel like you always see like the memes, or you hear people talking about like they're at a place and like they're in the bathroom crying.
Yes.
Or they're in the bathroom on their phone.
Yeah.
Like
trying to escape.
Yeah.
Or like crying because they're like, upset.
Yeah, they're overwhelmed, and like that's the place where you can be alone. And I think there's something so special and intentional about, yes, definitely retreat there because that's where you can go. But the intentionality of washing your hands with that in mind, or your face, or whatever it is, that's wow, that's really powerful. And if you respond to water in that way, that's a really great one to do.
Yeah, well, and what you just said also reminds me, crying, tears, like that's a water cleanse too, I mean, our bodies do that naturally when we need to release that, and that's a form of water cleansing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So you always kind of want to start, I mean, and then when you're, trying to intentionally bring some energy or protect your energy, like a cleansing is a good place to start with that too. And you can certainly do that with water. And then there's other elements that you mentioned.
Yeah. So like a way to use fire to cleanse is you can, I actually want you to describe your kind of candle, like a way you might use a candle. So a candle is a flame, is fire, obviously.
There's also, I like to bring in sort of, you can, I don't know, maybe that would be air if you're doing smudging.
I think technically smudging is air. But the actual, like a candle with a flame, and I think you said something about, sort of how you can carve things into a candle.
Yeah, that's something I really like to do. That is more along the lines of the magic in my sanctuary. So if I'm doing, sort of that intention where it's not magic that I'm carrying like on my person, but I'm doing it in my space.
Yeah.
And then a really simple sort of like candle magic you can do is to carve a sigil. If you don't know about sigils or you're not really sure what to do for that, you can totally just do a phrase. You can even do a couple of letters.
Yeah, you can do an initial or like a symbol, a circle or a sun or
whatever it is that you kind of want to bring in, carve into the candle. And then what I'll do is I'll light the candle, but I'll put a circle of salt around the holder that's holding the candle. And then as I'm sort of watching it burn, I'm imagining kind of pulling in the warmth and the energy and like asking it to come inside me and like watching it burn down past whatever I've carved into it.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, a lot of, obviously, even breaking it down kind of into the elements like I'm doing, they overlap. I mean, salt is an earth element that is another way to clear and cleanse energy. So we'll get to that in a second. But combining a lot of these obviously is really helpful. Yeah. So yes, definitely the candle thing, like you described. You can also, if you have a very small candle, if you do or don't carve anything into it, but you can just let it burn entirely until it's completely extinguished on its own. And then that kind of then releases smoke, which is that air, and kind of is that release of whatever intention you put into that candle.
Yeah, and I like to do that where, and I do love that where if I have the time to like let it burn all the way down. Certainly if you don't and you can't wait, that's okay too, but I sort of like to leave that in my space. That's in my safe space. And then when I have to go out and venture into these other spaces, I remind myself and visualize my sanctuary at home, and that it's almost like a beacon. It's like beacon magic. Like it's they're kind of sending it out to me. Like I did that intentionally. Yes. I pulled that into me. So I am kind of walking around with it, but I feel like that's their kind of sending out the energy that I asked it to. And that kind of goes along with me. And I remind myself too that like I'm going back there. Like whenever I'm done with what I have to do here, I'm going to return there, and that's waiting for me. Yes. And it's just lovely, and it's like amazing energy. And so. Yeah, no,
I love that. Another way to use fire, and this is a personal favorite of mine, specifically for clearing negative energy or, beliefs that are no longer serving you, relationships that are no longer serving you. You can write things on paper, and you can burn up the scraps of paper. And obviously, you want to do this in a safe manner, and you want to do it, with like, usually what I do is I have like a stainless steel, like a fireproof, bowl, and I'll just, hold whatever I have, paper, it's like tiny scrap. I'm not burning like a whole sheet of paper, and you just really, like, you can kind of say words and bring your intention, and you can use a lighter or you can use a special candle. I mean, you can make it as elaborate as you want. But as you, burn off kind of what you've written about, whatever negative things you want to release, that's the magic that's happening. And then the ashes, what I typically do, again, combining sort of the earth element, is I'll just kind of scatter the ashes or even bury them completely sort of in the soil. And kind of feel like that has been put to bed.
That's a great way to bring that in too. Yeah, sometimes even if I don't necessarily do something that represents all of the different elements, another thing I like to do is, if I'm doing magic in my sanctuary, is having things on my altar that represent the different elements and kind of placing them in the directions that they belong.
Yes.
So I'll have, an element there to symbolize air. So I have like a few feathers, and so I might have like a feather there, and then to symbolize water I might have a seashell. And then the fire is the candle, and like the earth could be a crystal, and then I'll sort of place them in the spaces that they're supposed to be. And I feel like that balance sort of contains what I'm doing, and like makes it feel kind of right. So
yes, and I think we're talking about really like simple, easy ways to do to bring a ritualistic element to a lot of things you could do, like lighting candles or washing your hands, or as we go on and list more things. But when one does a very formalized ritual, or sometimes in a group setting, if you're doing like a new moon ritual or something, in a group setting, it will start off in a formal way of like calling the 4 directions and the elements and the animals associated and all of that. So so doing that even in a small way, you're just alone on your own. I think that's a really nice way to connect all of that.
And it just makes it feel really balanced to me, and it really just pulls in all of the energy that I need. And I love to do that when I'm doing magic in my sanctuary.
Yes, definitely. So we already have kind of touched on ways of using air in rituals, which, like smudging, which is, I guess, using, it could be incense, or often it's sage, or it could be lavender, or other, sort of botanicals kind of in a bundle, and you light them on fire. But then when you blow out the fire, the smoke dissipates into the room, and that smoke is that cleansing energy. I think it's important to say, if you're going to do any smudging, that you make sure you open your windows so that all of the air and energy can vacate the room. You can also smudge yourself, your own sort of body. So that's one way to use air, is smudging.
I think it's often associated with doing it in a space, which obviously I really like, but I also like the idea of doing it on yourself. And if I am doing kind of that on the go magic, then I will do it, to my person first before I sort of do anything else that I'm going to be taking with me,
Yes, because you can also smudge items that you might be taking with you into, whatever environment or place that you're going. And it's really as simple as just sort of waving or kind of walking through the smoke that's being created.
Absolutely. That's a great way to do that, because some crystals you can't put in water too, so.
Yes, or in the sun, or, different things like that. No, that's true. Another way of using air is using your breath. So there's tons and tons of different ways of doing what's sometimes called breath work. The simplest, most accessible thing you have with you all the time is your breath, and noticing the way that you're breathing, and maybe getting into a rhythmic breathing. And some people don't find this comforting, or they don't find it cleansing at all. And if that's the case, obviously you don't have to do any of these if you don't find them relatable. But as far as using your breath, it can be as simple as, sometimes it's called triangle breathing, where you'll breathe in, counting up to maybe 3 or 4 or longer, if you're practiced at this. And then you'll hold your breath for that same amount of time, and then you'll exhale for that same amount of time. So you can do a 3 count in, a 3 count hold, and a 3 count exhale. And you just do this for a couple of minutes. And, or less. You could do it 2 times if that's all you have time for. But knowing that your breath is magic. It's the magic of life, that, we're breathing, we're living, and kind of having that as a touchstone, I think, can be really effective.
Yeah, it's really calming. I like to think of, because my brain gets really distracted, and it's, hard to kind of focus, especially when you're, in that
like
moment.
A chaotic environment.
Exactly. You're like trying to do something to make yourself feel better. And I find what really helps, I think I learned this in a yoga class a long time ago, but is to assign a syllable, a sound, anything that kind of resonates with you to your inhale and to your exhale. And so, and you want to say it, you can say it out loud if you want to, but you don't have to, but just saying it in your mind, making sure to actually think the words or the sounds, because if you're doing that, it's really hard to focus on anything else.
Right, because you're engaging different parts of your brain into like a focused activity, right?
And the thoughts will still come, but you kind of just like let them pass through, and you just go back to that sound or back to that, whatever it is. And the yoga teacher that I learned it from used the syllable or the sounds ah and si, which, and then she was like, you can do whatever resonates with you, doesn't have to be what I chose. But for some reason, like, that's the only thing that works for me, because she suggested
that's what she said, and you were like, yes, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, and so that's what I do. I do, like, an ah on the inhale and then a si on the exhale, and I just focus on, like, those words. And sometimes I do say them out loud, and sometimes I do not. I just say them in my head, but it really, it gets my mind more focused on what I'm doing, and...
find myself taking a nice cleansing breath right now.
Whenever you talk about it.
I know. I feel like whenever you talk about it, you start to do it, which is also really cool. This is also just, this discussion so far is reminding me of the previous episode where we did like the beginner witch basics. And we were talking about how you don't need a lot of things to start having a witchcraft practice or to clear energy. I think everything we've talked about, really, you don't need anything for it. Maybe a candle if you do that one, or, but you have your breath all the time. Like, you have access to water. I mean, thankfully in this country, most of us have access to water most of the time. So, I just feel like these things are very accessible.
Yeah. And it's just like we mentioned in that episode too, the ultimate thing about it is your intention and what you're focused on. So, it is as simple as washing your hands, but it becomes a magical thing when you have a different focus and a different intention on it.
Yes, and then you can transform. You can transform your experience, which is really super magical to be able to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you will feel it. Maybe not right away. And, sometimes it does feel a little bit... I know I've been guilty of that, where I'm doing it and I'm kind of criticizing myself, or it's feeling fruitless, and I'm like, okay, why am I even doing this? But the more you do it, the more you will actually feel it.
Yes.
You sometimes have to act your way into it.
Absolutely. And practicing letting go of that self-judgment too, I think is really important.
Yeah.
It's like another piece of this.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Okay. So those were kind of the air examples. We have already mentioned some earth examples, specifically with salt. I want to touch on that for just a quick second. Salt can be used in a lot of ways, like Ashley already said. Kind of, if you're using like a candle or something, for example, you can put a little barrier of salt around that, and it kind of just creates sort of like a little wall or a little bubble, I also like to use salt like around the corners of my house on the outside when I'm kind of... I don't strictly on a regimen do like a monthly house cleansing. I know a lot of witches do, and maybe everyone should, but I don't. But when I do, I put salt on the outside. You can also put salt across like the threshold. You don't have to put a giant pile of salt in front of your door, it doesn't have to be a mess.
Right.
But even if you have like a walkway outside where no one's really even going to notice that it's there, but you're going to know that it's there. So you can, and that kind of like cleanses the energy as people walk across it. So these are, some ways to use salt. Obviously you can combine salt and water, like in a bath, for example. So salt in particular is really good, I think, for clearing and cleansing energy.
Oh yeah. I really respond to salt. It's something that really resonates with me. And again, everybody's going to resonate with different things. Salt for me is a big deal.
Yeah.
And I feel like rings of salt, circles of salt, always really help me feel cleared and balanced. And there is such a protective quality to it.
Absolutely. Definitely. We have definitely used salt in rituals together before. So another way to kind of bring in the earth, which I already mentioned too, is you can bury things.
Yeah.
And you can plant things, literally or figuratively. It's kind of a way to like kind of the thing that I mentioned about, burning papers with words and then burying the ashes type of concept. But you can also write positive things and plant them to grow them, figuratively.
I love
too.
that.
So, yeah.
Yeah. That is a really, I love, we did that for one of the sabbats. I can't remember which one, but there was a ritual where we did that and we wrote things and then we planted it as seeds for the new season, to grow. I mean, it might have been a milk. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't remember which one, but I think, we did. Yeah, so it's cool. I know, I just totally jumped ahead with that, going into how you cultivate and invite positive energy.
That's okay.
But that's okay. It's, still relevant there. So the only other one that I thought to mention as far as moving and clearing energy is sound. So sound is often used like in group ritual kind of settings, like those...
like Tibetan sound bowls.
Yes, those bowls or bells or drums, drum circles, things like that. But even just individually, I mean, you could ring a bell in your own little, spell if you wanted to. But I also just think music in general can be hugely transformative, can transform your energy, can transform the energy in a space. And that can be obviously whatever appeals to you and whatever feels right to you.
And whatever feels right in the moment. It's funny when people say they don't believe in magic and they're really adamant about it and like, oh, I don't believe in any of that. I do not believe in magic. I'm like, do you like music?
Yeah.
Because it's magic. Music is magic. The whole existence of it is magic. The way it makes us feel is magic.
Yes.
There is nothing that you can explain about that. And thus, it is magic.
I completely agree. And I feel like also we're saying this sort of on the heels of, Spotify Wrapped coming out.
Oh my
and
God.
so I don't know if we want to go there.
Spotify is wild.
So wild.
Wild. I'm like, this is what you think. Where is this coming from? My top songs, I'm like, what is this song?
Or I'm like, I listened to that 3 times. Like, what?
Literally 3 times. Or it was on some kind of playlist.
That's what happened to me.
Yes, I'm notorious for like using those. I like to use them at work. And like what I listen to at work just wildly differs from what I listen to in my like regular life.
Same.
And I'm like, that song was on a playlist. Like, no shame to Taylor Swift. I know people love her. I get it. Like these concert tickets are
Was Taylor
wild.
Swift on your top?
It wasn't on my top, but it was like in there. And I'm like, the reason why is because of like her songs with Bon Iver, like are on like playlists I listen to at work. And I'm like, that's why this is showing up. You're crazy.
Yeah.
You're out of your mind. And the genre is... My afternoon was spooky, which I'm like, okay, that's cool.
But like, what even qualifies as spooky?
No one knows. And my mornings were...
To them.
My mornings were Victorian. What does that mean?
I don't know.
What?
I don't know.
Wild.
I was just impressed that I had over 92,000 minutes of listening.
Oh my God,
I was in the 98th percentile.
Yeah, I was
proud.
in a crazy one too. I'm like,
it's because I listen to it all day at work. Every day.
Exactly. I have it playing, and that's my thing. Like, I have it playing, but I don't always watch everything that's like happening on.
Well,
there.
yeah, exactly. I know.
And I don't listen to my podcasts on Spotify.
I don't either.
I listen to them on Apple Podcasts.
Same here.
So that was upsetting because people were posting like, "See, you're my top podcast and everything," and I'm like, okay, I listen to that too, but I don't listen to it on here, so no one's gonna know.
Yeah, that's true. I know. Same. Maybe I'll have to remedy that. So, anyways, okay.
Polarizing topic.
About that. Anyways, we might have revealed too much about ourselves in this case. But okay. So anyway, back to the point at hand. I think those are all of, there are many, many more ways to clear and cleanse and move energy, but those are kind of some main categories. And again, like being like very simple and accessible is kind of what we're going for.
Absolutely. It's all about your intention, whatever makes you feel better. I really like things that are just something that you can kind of hold on to, whether that be tangible. So when it's the magic on me, I like a tangible object. I like a crystal. I'm even like wearing a piece of jewelry that I definitely wear when I am needing that, and I pull energy into it. But even just like a simple phrase or a mantra that's short
Yes.
that you can remember so that you can remind yourself whenever you're in that situation, and you can just repeat that in your head when people are trying you.
Yeah, and it could be as simple as like a single word.
Yes.
Like, peace or strength or, assertiveness. Like you might need to remind yourself that you can like clap back if necessary. Yeah. Look, energy clearing is not all about like being calm and like sometimes it's about being active, and it's about drawing energy, clearing negative energy and then drawing energy to yourself that will allow you to stand up for yourself if that's what needs to happen.
Oh, totally. Great point, because I think sometimes a lot of these practices and things are associated with this need to be kind of monk-like and like stoic. And there's nothing wrong with stoicism. I know people get a lot out of,
and sometimes practices. That is what's called for.
Yes,
and that is the right path. And I'm not even talking about like the philosophy of stoicism, but just kind of like being calm and not reactive and just taking things and not letting them bother you.
Yeah, definitely. But, there's a difference between that and, being a doormat or letting people walk 100%. All over you. Mm-hmm. This is a way to take back. And, I love that we're discussing this too, because it's easy to say like, well, just don't go into situations that make you feel that way. That's not realistic. You
not
have
always
to.
Realistic. Yeah.
And some of us have very little autonomy in, certain cases and do not have the choice, that have to interact with people that, make them feel horrible, and there's nothing that they can really do.
Yeah.
But there are things that you can do.
Right, exactly. You maybe can't do anything about how that person approaches you, but you can always work on how you approach back. Yeah. And sometimes that might be walk away if this isn't bothering me. I'm going to the bathroom to do my water cleansing, I'm crying and washing my hands, Or it could be like, no, in this moment, I'm actually going to say, I don't really appreciate the way you're saying that to me right now, or whatever.
Or, ew, I can't believe you just said that.
Or, ew, I can't believe you just said that.
I'm so embarrassed for you.
Yeah. Are you sure that's the look you want to go for?
Interesting.
Yeah. Nice, interesting choice of conversation to bring up. Thank you. Yeah. Anyways, moving on. Yeah, exactly.
Love that.
Bring a little sass to it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. So.
Yeah, we support it.
Yes, definitely support sass. Okay. So let's see. Oh, what were you going to say anything else about like what types of little objects or things, the mantra kind of affirmations, anything else?
Jewelry, crystals, anything. I had a coworker tell me this week that she has a little doll from when she was a child, and it's called like a sunshine doll or something like that. And that's what she'll bring with her when she is in like moments like that and is stressful or whatever. Like and she's had it since she was little. I know, it's so sweet.
That is sweet. I also think this is just reminding me of how things like makeup and painting your nails, things like that can be sources of energy clearing, sources of magic, because you can be in whatever environment and you can be processing whatever is coming at you, and you can like look at your manicure and you could be like, I'm the bomb, or whatever that looks like for you. So I think that's something else.
No, that is colors.
Yes, your clothing, colors, what you choose to wear, what makes you feel the ways that you want to feel. So again, now we're already kind of jumping over to that category of how you cultivate and invite the kind of energy that you want. But obviously this all goes and flows together and overlaps.
It does. It goes and flows. It's kind of impossible to separate them out.
I think we do that for the sake of discussion,
sure.
But then in practice, you really are doing all of them because you're clearing out, you're protecting, and you're bringing in what you want. I mean, that's kind of the whole process.
Mm-hmm. Certainly, we would be remiss not to say that our tattoos do that.
100%.
Yeah, and I'm sure other people that do have them would agree with that. That's something that I always wear, and it's like an armor.
Yeah.
So.
No, I know. Absolutely. Very true. So, all right. I did want to mention a sort of containing protection visualization that is very common and that I think I use and that you could, anyone can use. And it's very simple. You could look up something online and you could probably find like a whole, like a poem, practically like verses or like specific things that you can say. And if you, sometimes it's hard to think of it on your own. So if you want to
That's true.
look up those kind of resources, you obviously can. But it's just a bubble of light visualization. And it's really kind of just taking a moment, having the intention of sort of imagining yourself being surrounded by a bubble of light that protects you and keeps out, negative forces and keeps your whole complete self, to yourself. And you can imagine different colors with that. You can imagine that being big or small or whatever it needs to be, and sort of just taking that moment to kind of imagine like it's like a force field around you. And I think I really like that one. I use that a lot, or sometimes I imagine it like a veil for myself too, like drawing a veil and, kind of having that surrounding.
Yeah, I like that too. And if the visualization is enough to just do that and imagine that, that's great. And sometimes, I still like to have words sometimes. It just depends on what's going on, but sometimes I do. And I'll, even speak to that, everything that's outside, everything that's outside this bubble cannot come into this bubble unless I give it permission to. And, I am whole, I am well inside this bubble. I am full of light and positivity, whatever it is that you need to say.
But I mean, those are the exact kind of words that you could use. And, you could use those exact words, or you could look up something that might have similar words, or you can just say what comes to you. And the more you practice with these things, the more does come to you. And the more you realize what you actually are doing and wanting to do.
Absolutely. I think the more you realize which elements kind of speak to you and in which moments and what things feel more comfortable to you. And
Yeah. So again, we kind of have already covered a couple of the sort of cultivating and inviting practices that overlap with kind of the clearing, rituals.
Yeah.
But I think there's also just generally a couple of smells or oils and crystals that are generally considered to invite positive energy.
Yeah.
So rose and lavender, specifically those scents or those oils, or candles with those, scents. Even if you have the actual items like petals or things like that. I think rose quartz specifically is about self-love and love in general. So I feel like that's always a nice kind of one to bring in. If you have associations with anything else personally, obviously those are very powerful as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good place to start if you're not sure.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of just your general, intro place to start.
Yes.
So, yeah. Oh, I forgot almost. There was one specific, and I don't know why I wanted to mention this specific one, but there's a specific, and maybe it is just to illustrate how you can combine things and how simple it can be or whatever, even though everything we've talked about has been simple. Anyways, so it's just something that I don't know why I want to mention it, but I'm going to mention it. So you can use, citrus is also really good for cleansing and clearing. So you can use a lime or a lemon or even an orange, and you can cut an X into, through the skin, but not all the way through. So it's still whole. And then you can sprinkle salt into the X that you cut. And while you're doing all of that, you're going to be kind of thinking through those intentions, the clearing, the protecting, the inviting, all of the layers, maybe the mantra, the words that you might be, wanting to bring to all of that. And then you can take that fruit and you can leave it. If you're going somewhere, you can leave it in your car. And then when you come back to your car to leave again, it's there. Sort of your energy in your vehicle will be clean and cleared. And then you can sort of dispel any energy that you may have absorbed, from wherever you were. You can, in your own home, you can obviously place them anywhere, or you could just have it in your kitchen. Maybe no one even notices it if you have to do these things in subtle ways.
Sure.
Maybe someone asks you about it, but maybe they're just whatever, it's fruit in the kitchen, nobody's paying attention. Exactly. So I don't know, for some reason, I just felt like mentioning that specific practice.
Yeah, I like that. No, it's appreciated because I think sometimes, people aren't really sure what to do, and sort of having a suggestion is a great thing because they can try it. And if it works for them, fantastic. And if a slightly different version works, great, or they might find something new, but it's always nice to have a little bit of a place to start.
Yeah, so that is a place to start. And all of the things that we mentioned are just, one, again, illustrating how simple and accessible these practices can be, and also how the intention that you bring to it is really what makes the magic happen. And there are things you can do.
Yes. And you can do these things for yourself. You can always do these things on behalf of others.
Correct. Yes.
If you want to do, like a lot of times when I'm doing, so magic on me tends to be things like for myself, but also I might be wanting to carry that energy into a space and have people feel that good energy too. But routinely that's like for me. But magic in my sanctuary, a lot of times that's for other people. That's not always for me. That's a lot of times what I do when I'm wanting to send out, energy to other people. It's a way to do that. And a lot of times I let them know that I'm doing it, and I share with them, what I said and what I performed, and
like what you're hoping for them, or the energy you want to send to them. Yeah, I really like that. That's a really good point. So, all right. Well, I think that about wraps this up. So
I feel cleansed and
I do
light.
too, and I feel very prepared to enter into this hectic kind of season with as much peace and intention as I can.
Same. We hope you do too. Let us know if you have questions, comments, anything you want us to expand on. We're happy to do it. We care about you, and you're awesome.
Oh, that's super sweet. It's very true. Yeah. So until next time,
stay witchy, friends.
And stay dumb.
Dumb Witch Club is written and produced by us, Ashley Sidner
and Jackie Gerard, at the Dumb Witch Clubhouse in Orange County, California.
Produced and edited by Matt Heinemeyer, creative director and culture consultant Violet Turner.
Original music by Ashley Sidner. And look us up on all your favorite social media platforms, including Patreon.
Until next time, stay witchy, friends.
And stay dumb.